Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is Fangy coming to what will hopefully be a quick and successful video review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Deluxe Class Warpath figure. So, starting off here at the front of the box, I already took Warpath out of his box. I took him out a while ago, just to see how great he was. The transformation, I will admit, is not easy. It is one of the more complex ones, but it's not a nightmare to transform like Kingdom Rhinox has proven to be. So yes, here is the front of Warpath's box. Here on the top, Warpath is the 6th Transformers figure to be released in the Kingdom line. You've got an image here of his alt mode. Here is his robot mode. And there behind him in the background is the R crash line. Ended onto a mountain. It's a very nice artwork of Warpath in both his tank mode and his robot mode. On this side of the box, you've got the poster image for the Kingdom line. On the back of the box, you've got the product photos. You got Warpath in his robot mode and his tank mode. He transforms back and forth between both modes in 26 steps. Warpath is an Autobot. Sorry for having it upside down. And here on the bottom box, of course, you got the barcode. Nothing special there. And that's pretty much it for Warpath's box. So setting that off to the side, we will take a look at the Warpath figure itself. And yes, I am really impressed with Warpath's robot mode. I am impressed with the how the tank turret forms his robot mode chest. Yes, and overall, I just really enjoy Warpath's design in robot mode, with the exception of his feet being a little too big. It almost looks like Warpath's animation model from the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon series, but I'm just really digging his transformation here. The previous Warpath figure we got before this one was the Legends class Warpath figure. I can't remember if it was released in the Titans Return of Power of the Primes line. It was basically a repaint of the Generations Thrilling 30 Legends class Megatron figure. That figure was released back in 2013, and the Legends class Warpath figure, it wasn't all too impressive, and so a lot of Transformers fans and collectors were hoping that we would get an updated Warpath figure, maybe in the Legends class size, but Hasbro and Tomy decided to go full-blown own deluxe with releasing new figures of the mini-bots, so we now have a deluxe figure of Warpath in the Kingdom line, and yes, I really enjoy how impressive he looks. One thing you can do with Warpath is you can extend the tank cannon from his chest, and you can give him a chest cannon, and then so you can go bang, bang, boom, boom, kapow, ow. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But yeah, that's how Warpath talked in the G1 cartoon series, and that's what made him unique compared to the other Autobot Transformers characters. Now, as far as accessory pieces go, the only accessory piece Warpath comes with is this little ramp-looking piece right here. This actually forms the bottom middle of the tank mode when Warpath is in his robot mode, and according to the official product photos, you're supposed to peg it onto either one of Warpath's shoulders and give him a shoulder shield. To my knowledge, Warpath didn't have that in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon series, and so you have another option of where I had it before, where you can plug it onto the back center of Warpath's back. And the way the Generation 1 version of Warpath transformed, Warpath's robot mode head actually formed the hatch for the tank turret that the soldiers would climb in and out of. And so having the riot shield pegged onto his back and being right behind his head, it kind of gives the vaguely gives the illusion of the hatch cover on the back of Warpath's head that he's been given in the IDW comic books, in his comic book appearances, so that's a pretty neat gimmick right there. Now, I don't know how well it's going to come off on my camera, but in hand, half of Warpath's arts, they aren't a solid red. Half of them are like a magenta type pink, and he also has parts that are a reddish brown on section, so in hand, Warpath isn't as much of a monotonous red robot as some of the product photos taken by Hasbro would lead you to believe. So, in terms of articulation, Warpath's head is technically on a ball joint, so he can look up and down ever so slightly, and his head, of course, can rotate left and right at 360 degrees. His arms can go this far out at the shoulder. They can rotate clockwise and counterclockwise 360. You got a bicep swivel that's right above the elbow joint. You got a hinge joint of the elbow, and of course you have wrist swivels. Those, I apologize for my enormous fingers getting in the way of showing that off. Warpath does technically have a waist joint, but it's super tight right on my copy, so I'm not going to really show it off too well. Now, you move his arms out of the way. His legs can go outward that far, but they can go forward that much, which is a lot. But unfortunately, if you try and rotate Warpath's legs backwards, he does have a waist skirt in the back, so you do have to lift it up to get his legs to go backwards as far as they can go. So yeah, he has universal jointed thighs. He's a swivel joint. Sorry, universal jointed pelvic joints, thigh swivel, hinge knee, which is sort of stiff on my copy, and he has ankle rockers. The foot itself can't, unfortunately, move up and down, and that's because of how the heel spurs are solid pieces, so that prevents the feet from walking up and down. But all things considered, I personally believe those are joints that the Kingdom Warpath figure doesn't necessarily need, because as he's got plenty of articulation all on his own. So for a quick robot mode size comparison, here's the previous deluxe class size Warpath figure. Released in 2011, this is the Transformers the original line of Transformers Generations Deluxe class Warpath figure. This was released way back in 2011, so since Kingdom Warpath was released this year in 2021, it's been a decade since we got deluxe class size Warpath figures. In between that year, we got one Warpath figure, again released in the Prime Wars Trilogy lines. I can't remember which one, if it was Combiner Wars, Titans Return, or Power of the Primes. But yes, unfortunately, comparing these two Warpath figures next to each other, the Generations and the Kingdom versions side by side, this is an unfortunate example of how Takara Tomy and Hasbro have, over the last decade from 2011 to 2021, been slowly downsizing deluxe class size Transformers figures, and how Transformers figures have in fact been slowly becoming smaller size than what they used to be. So that is a little bit of a letdown. But all things considered, the Kingdom version of Warpath does go. Hasbro and Takara Tomy, the designers, went full blow on Generation 1 and made Warpath look as much like his animation model from the original Generation 1 cartoon series compared to the 2011 Warpath, which bears a closer resemblance to Warpath's appearance in the Transformers comic books, specifically the ones that have been released by IDW. But yes, it is unfortunate that Transformers figures have been getting smaller, but I do enjoy having both of these Warpath figures in my Transformers collection. So without further delay, we will get this guy transformed and take a look at him in tank mode. My apologies, before we get to tank mode, I just remembered I wanted to show this off. When you're halfway done through transforming Warpath, if you can get his arms in this weird angle, like this where he's half transformed, this is what I like to call Generation 1 robot mode. The original Generation 1 Warpath figure, in robot mode, this is where the arms were positioned. So yes, that's a little fun thing you can do with Kingdom Warpath. If you want him to look like the Generation 1 Warpath figure, you can get his arms in the same position as the original Generation 1 mini-bot. I think I've seen a couple of reviewers do this with Warpath, where they show that you can do like a Generation 1 robot mode with Warpath. So yeah, I think that was pretty nice of the designers, whether it was intentional or not. I think it's a pretty neat third mode that Warpath can do. And it just fills me with all sorts of nostalgia for the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon series, seeing Warpath transformed into this secret mode like this. Alright, boom bang kapow, here is Warpath in his tank mode, and I gotta say, it is really impressive looking. Granted, the tank turret, it might not have the same proportions as most battle tanks to do today, but again, as I said earlier, the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy were going for G1 cartoon accuracy, so Warpath's tank mode is inspired more by his animation model created by Sumbo Studios back in 1985 versus an actual battle tank that exists today. Hey, but one nice thing about the tank is that the cannon can point upward and it can point straight, and because of how it transforms, Warpath's turret can rotate 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise. But on my copy, if I try to turn it to the back, it feels like it's going to stiffen and tighten up, and I don't want to worry about anything breaking. There is Warpath's one, a solitary Autobot logo that he has. In robot mode, it becomes hidden by his eggs due to how he transforms. But considering the fact that the tank turret and cannon forms the front center of Warpath's robot mode chest, I can forgive if Hasbro and Takara for not finding a way of putting an Autobot logo on Warpath's robot mode. And again, there's that riot shield that he had on his back. Like it forms the bottom middle section of the tank, so Warpath does look like an Earth style tank. But unfortunately, like most Transformers figures that turn into tanks, the tank treads don't actually spin, so Warpath instead has four tiny little plastic wheels. They do feel like they could potentially roll around down fairly easily on a solid flat surface, but again, since they are very small, it all depends on how much friction they have to spin around. So here, taking a close look at Warpath's tank mode, he does have some 5mm egg holes on him, but like most of the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy figures, they're hexagon shaped instead of circle shaped. So I don't know if hexagon shaped holes have been proven to be more friction friendly and holding stuff inside them, and then versus circular holes. But yeah, so I honestly don't know the thinking process that the designers at Hasbro and Takara did when giving hexagon shaped holes for the weapons to be held by the War for Cybertron Trilogy Transformers figures. But yeah, all in all, I'm really impressed with Warpath's tank mode, and I love the fact that just like his animation model in the G1 cartoon series, his tank treads are all white. Right, so that's a nice visual appeal for Warpath. And for a size comparison, here he is again with the Generations 2011 Deluxe Class Warpath figure, and unlike the Kingdom Warpath figure, which is based more off an Earth-style tank, the Generations Warpath figure is based off of a fictional H-track tank. I don't know if H-track tanks actually exist or if they're just a work of fiction. But yes, even though this one looks more like a Cybertronian tank than the Kingdom version of Warpath does, as again comparing the Kingdom version of Warpath with the original Generations 2011 Warpath figure, it is unfortunately an example of how Hasbro and Takara have been slowly downsizing Transformers figures over the last decade. But one nice thing I just noticed putting them together, the tip of the Kingdom Warpath's tank mode, the tip of the turret cannon has a 3mm a peg, while the Generations Warpath figure, the end of the tank cannon has a 3mm port on it. So if you wanted to, you could have the two Kingdom Warpath figures collide with each other, and you can literally have the tanks cannons, if I can get them to stay in place. Yeah, but if you want on it too, you could have the tanks collide head on, and they could actually form a turret connection right there. It is much harder to do than it actually looks, because both of these shove backwards into the turret for robot mode transformation. But yeah, that's just a little fun thing you can do with if you have both versions of Warpath in your collection. But yes, all in all, I do thoroughly enjoy the overall look and design of the Kingdom version of Warpath. And I just love how his robot mode proportions are, and even though he is smaller than the Generations Warpath figure, for the proverbial question, do I recommend getting Kingdom Warpath and adding him to your Transformers collection? Absolutely, I do. This has become my favorite version of Warpath. It's not the physically largest, I admit, but it has become my favorite version of Warpath out there. And I've always liked the idea of Warpath being one of the physically largest, if not the physically largest, of all the mini bots due to his alt mode being a battle tank. And yes, I do highly recommend and getting Kingdom Warpath. His transformation, even though I didn't actually show it off, it can be a little finicky, especially with the robot mode legs, even when you know what you're doing, but it's worth it for the robot mode and tank modes that you get with this figure. So thank you to all my subscribers for your continued support. Thank you to everybody for watching this video review. And remember, stay safe and healthy out there. And until next time, you guys, this has been the TF Fan Geek. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys all so much. And until next time, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone. Da-da-da.